Hello, everybody. I'm Artie Decker back with PSN. Here we are in the week 14 of the season, which means semi-final week. Looking here, just looking back to last week, really, the shockers continue. You had the top three, or excuse me, three number one Red Devil teams bite the dust last week. Nobody really saw that coming. uh, and just several schools in this thing that have never really been here. I mean, it's just a weird year. In the years of the probably the past 5 years, we've had a lot of repeats. We've had a lot of people get back that got there the year before. You know, so many repeat success, but this year is a little different. Everybody's getting knocked out, and you're seeing a whole lot of new faces coming in to this week. But let's just jump right in. 6A, you got Hillcrest Tuscaloosa going into Wetumpka. Hillcrest, a nice little sneaky little win over Opelika last week, but Wetumpka just dominated Spanish Fort, and I love the fact that they done that. With them being as athletic as they are, to be able to drop 69 on a usually pretty stout Toro defense, that was very impressive. And for that fact, I do like them to go ahead and win this game over Hillcrest Tuscaloosa, and probably we'll say blowout fashion. Looking on, we got Clay Chalkville going into Pinson Valley. This game in the regular season was 34-32. Expect more of the same. High scoring. You like points. They're probably going to blow up the scoreboard. Uh, Bo Nix, phenomenal passer. They got the big win in overtime last week over a really good Austin team. A lot of people had Austin in Tuscaloosa. I didn't. I picked Pinson, and I like Pinson to go ahead and finish this thing off. I've talked about him since week one being probably my favorite to get to Tuscaloosa out of the North, and I'm going to stick with it as they should knock off the Cougars, but it'll be close. Looking on, we have St. Paul going into Demopolis. Demopolis kind of shocked me because, I picked against them last week. They managed to get the win over a good Viger team, and St. Paul's just St. Paul's. I told you they'd win, and here they are again. And in that fashion, which they usually play, I expect them to go ahead and beat a good Demopolis team. But it might be closer than you think. Looking on, you got St. Clair going into Briarwood. Briarwood just is a machine right now. They dominated a good Etowah team 31-0. St. Clair County is just kind of riding the wave. I mean, you go from down 21-0 at halftime at Gunnersville to find a way to get past them, and then you win in the second round, and then you knock off a team that dominated you in the regular season, being Winona. Also, that's a Winona team that went to the state title game last year. You know, so much that St. Clair shouldn't be here, but they just keep finding ways to win. Hats off to them, but I think they're going to hit a brick wall this week. Briarwood's just too much for them, and Cinderella's going to turn into a pumpkin. Looking on, we have UMS Wright going into Andalusia. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. I did a little digging on this one. Andalusia had never beaten UMS Wright until this season. They found a way in the regular season to get by them. I believe the score was 27-21. It was a close game. And, I've looked at a lot of people picking this game. A lot of people are picking UMS Wright. They think just the experience factor will be too much for Andalusia. But this Andalusia team is really talented. And I kind of like them to go ahead and seize the moment and sneak by UMS Wright once again and put themselves in the state championship game. Looking on, we have Saxe going into Fayette County. This is Saxe is another team I've told you about middle of the season. I said, watch that Saxe team, and here they are. We picked them to be in Tuscaloosa. Uh, this Fayette County team is a stubborn little ball club. They found a way to win at Hopes Bluff last week, and it's going to be interesting to see Saxe go on the road because Saxe is a really good home team, but they've had their issues where they maybe not quite as dominant on the road. But I like Saxe, just the talent to be overwhelming, and to go ahead and get the win over a good Fayette County team. Looking on, we have Clark County going into Hillcrest Evergreen. This is a game, we picked against them last week, Clark County being, and, they beat Mobile Christian again. Beat them 21-14 in the regular season, beat them 21-16 last week. Hillcrest Evergreen is a good team, though. Just kind of plodding their way along. They don't really blow anybody out, but they just take care of business. And I like them to do it again in this run for Clark County. Clark County is in uncharted waters. This is by far, if you want to go with results, the best team they've ever had. And I think it's going to run out for them as Hillcrest Evergreen should get the win in this one. And to my knowledge, Hillcrest Evergreen's never been to a state final. So something's got to give. Somebody's going to make it for the first time ever. Looking on, we got Randolph County at Piedmont. I told y'all back in like week 1 or 2, this would be your best two teams in 3A North, and here we are. These two teams faced off about week 4, I believe it was. Randolph County actually led the game in the second half, but managed to let Piedmont come back and get them 41-31. This time around, I know you've always heard me say never pick against Steve Smith and these Bulldogs, especially at the Field of Champions. But Knight, Lane, and Hester, the three-headed monster for Randolph County, running that football, they dominated a good, solid Sylvania team last week. And Piedmont's just kind of sleptwalked their way through the playoffs so far. They're going to have to step up and it's going to be interesting to see, will they step up in this big moment with the pressure on, or will Randolph County be a little too much for them and be a little too much hungry to get there? Randolph County's never been to a final. Last time they got here, they lost a 5-2 years ago, 20-17 on the road. Can they go on the road and get the win? That's the biggest thing. I actually like Randolph County to go ahead and pull off the upset. Yep, you heard me right. I'm picking against Piedmont. I don't really want to, but I'm going to. I think they're just a little too much for them this time. And plus, Piedmont's just not trending in the way I wanted to see them trend. I expect this game to be really close. I expect this game to be high scoring, exciting. Um, you probably won't be able to stir them with a stick at Field of Champions because I'm sure everybody and their grandma is going to want to get in there and check that out. Cardavia Myers and Lee Stanley, they're going to do their thing, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And I like Randolph to get by them in this one. Looking on, we have Leroy going into Goshen. Goshen is the best year they've ever had. Leroy, this is kind of back to old times. They had a dominant stretch there for a while, and now they're starting to get it back. And I actually like them to go ahead and knock off this Goshen team. And this is a gritty little Goshen team. They were beat last week, down 14, I believe, in the fourth quarter, and came back and beat St. Luke's 55-52 late, in spite of Dwayne Brown's almost 400 yards of rushing. Uh, and I mean that's gritty right there to me, to come back and win a football game in the fourth quarter. But Leroy's defense is a little bit too much, I think, for Goshen. And I like them to slow them down enough to get by and put Leroy back in the state title game for the first time in quite a while. I would say '09, I think, was the last time they were there. Looking on, we got Celigent, the Fife Killers, if you will, the David to the Goliath, going into Lynette. Lynette, I told y'all from week 1, I said they're going to be here and they're going to have an opportunity. And it's all going to come down to whether or not Christian Story can mature as a quarterback as to be the only stumbling block for them. Well, to answer my question, try 35 touchdown passes this year. The kid has just gotten better week by week by week. They're explosive. Terry on Truitt running the football. Boo Rock, Dowdell down there blowing up the offensive line of every opponent they played. You want to throw the ball, Triquez Bridges is going to pick it off and make you pay. Jawan Howe running the football. Uh, just so many weapons, so much talent. And even if you want to throw the ball deep, you got Big Daddy Anquavius Pollard back there catching the ball. I mean, so many good kids on this team. And I told you, I really like this team to get where they are. And Sullivan, on the other hand, they're just a good, solid team. Hats off to them. They went against what they've done all season for the most part and come out slanging it. They saw something, I'm sure, in film, and they just exploited a weak spot in that five defense. And so, hats off to the coaching staff for finding that and executing that. Jerron Scott had a monster game, 20 of 22 throwing the football. Metcalf, another monster game overall for him. Um, had a also on defense had a pick that was huge in pulling off the upset. But this time, this matchup is a little bit different than Fife. Fife's not known to stop the pass, but Lynette is a team that if you want to throw the football, they're more than happy to let you throw it. But Bridges is probably going to take it to the house at least once if you do it enough. Um, Jaron Scott has really got to play well and be smart with the ball if they're going to throw it. I expect them to kind of get away from throwing the ball this week. I expect them to try to pound it in there and keep it on the ground and let Metcalf try to win it for them. But and then on the other side of things, Lynette's probably going to want to just do what they've done all season, really. Just create and make big plays. And if I'm Sullivan, I'm trying to find a way to limit those big plays, like kind of the way they did against Fife. Make Lynette work. Make Lynette move the football consistent and not get big chunks. And I'm sure that's going to be their strategy. One interesting matchup is the offensive lines. Lynette's used to dominating at the line, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, Sullivan's got a big offensive line, and it's probably going to be by far the biggest line that Lynette's faced. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Something's got to give. Sullivan's good on offense, but Lynette's really good on defense. So, that's going to be your big matchup right there. Can Christian Story step up in this big moment and play well? Lynette has been here so many times. I believe 0-9 in semifinals in school history. Can they finally break through and put themselves in a state championship game after last year losing to 533 to 20? They came out tight in that game and really struggled early. But by the time they figured it out, it was a little too late. And it's going to be interesting to see on that biggest stage, can they put it together and play like they can. But I do like Lynette to slow them down, and I like the fact that that secondary. I think it's really going to limit Sullivan on offense, and in part, I like Lynette to finally break through and get the win. Looking on, we have Sweetwater going into Wadley. Wadley's had a fantastic year running the ball and just dominating people. But Sweetwater, they're kind of in that boat of Sullivan. They knocked off Maplesville. Nobody really saw that coming. And I'm sure it was just that much sweeter for the folks at Sweetwater because they, they don't like Maplesville. I mean, those teams are fairly close in proximity. Um, you know, it's kind of like Alabama beating Auburn or something to keep them out. I mean, it's that much sweeter to knock them off. With this being said, I've said all year I love this Wadley team and to keep an eye on them, and I believe that they definitely deserve to be here. And in part, though, it's been a shaky thing. I really would love to pick Wadley, but I just for some reason I can't get over the fact that Sweetwater knocked out Maplesville. So that kind of makes them my de facto new leader, if you will, in that 1A classification. So I'm going to have to go with Sweetwater in a really close game. And in part, you look back to last year, I believe the second round, maybe third round, Sweetwater actually beat Wadley 28-27. So look for another back and forth, just crazy competitive game But I do like Sweetwater to get the win and get back to a state championship game for the first time in quite some time for them anyway. Um, and then let's look at this last matchup. You got South Lamar going into Pickens County. These two teams actually played in the regular season, and Pickens County beat them 41-28. And that's how they won the region. So, I actually had these two where they are right now. And here we are, rematch. Buster Griffin's going to have to play big because South Lamar's going to have to score some points because the Tornadoes of Pickens County, they don't they don't play on offense. I mean, they're going to put up some points, they're going to throw it, they're going to run it, and you're going to have to stop them. And I'm curious to see if South Lamar can slow them down or score with them. But it's that big brother factor. Can South Lamar find a way to knock them off? I don't think so. I like Pickens County to go ahead and get the win in that one. That pretty much wraps us up. As we said, we'll know by the end of Friday night who's going to the Super 7. Um, and we'll take a look at some of the picks that we made back in, well, it was right before the playoffs next week, and just try to get an idea of how well we done. Um, and that'll pretty much wrap us up for this week. As always, have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Try to stay warm if we get some cold weather. And we'll be back next week with all the action going into Tuscaloosa. I'm your host, Artie Decker, as always, for PSN. Save me a spot on the fence, and goodbye.